Here we go. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, lovely people, depending on where you are watching us from in this beautiful world of ours. And I am speaking to someone in the US, so it's still the 28th for you, the 29th. Good morning, maybe. Good afternoon. We're double dipping here. Let me switch it off. There we go. And Danny, I have been counting down the days to our interview because we had a bit of a pre-chat and I felt such a strong connection to your story. When it comes to kids in particular, it really hits home very, very differently when you see parallels, and yet our stories are always so very different. And when I listen to you talk about your beautiful wife and your beautiful daughters, it really touched my heart so deeply. And I'm like, I need to have you here. So without further ado, I'm going to get you to quickly introduce yourself to our audience before we get into your story. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here, and it's an honor to talk about these things. I think they're important things to talk about. So my name's Danny Lesslie. My wife, Raffaella, call her Raffy, passed away 12/12 of 24. So we're coming up on a year now. We have two daughters that are currently 8 and 10, and we battled cancer for 5 years. She had squamous cell carcinoma of the vulva, so vulvar cancer, which as a female is a nightmare. Um, and that was our battle, and that's what we, yeah. So
Yeah. I'm going to get straight into this because what really touches me is like your girls, my boys were such a similar age when it happened.
yeah,
And yet, as I said before, our stories are so, so different because Rob's death was so sudden. He passed from a brain aneurysm and it was that snip and gone. For you, there
yeah,
was a 5-year journey, and your girls being so little, it's more or less that they grew up with that, right? With the mom
yeah.
being sick. And tell us a little bit about your story because your story is so beautiful and yet so brutal at the same time. And I'd just like to hear it from you. Tell us a little bit about Raffaella. Maybe let's start with how did the two of you meet? I always like the love
Yeah.
story, yeah, because that is just so beautiful.
Okay, so I moved out from the Midwest of the U.S. and moved out to the coast in California, and I wanted to start a gym out there. I did that. In that process, I was teaching a class, and she just showed up and came into class. And at that point, we were both dating other people, but there was this magnetism that was undeniable. Like you couldn't people now that I talk to people, they're like, obviously, you guys were whatever. And the first time we were talking, I saw she had pulled up in her car and she had a baby seat in the back.
Mhm.
And I kind of, over the course of conversation, threw in a question about the baby seat. She's like, "Oh yeah, I have a daughter." And apparently, what happened? I completely sunk. Like you could see, like I was like upset, right? And
Mhm.
she immediately started laughing, like cracking up. And her laugh is like I feel it in my soul still. It's the one when someone laughs, it feels like they invited you to your party. You're like, wait a minute, how come your laugh is so awesome for me? It's that type of deal. And so I realized she got me, and she had a very quick wit. And so that was once that happened, I was like, well, this is over, And so eventually we ended up dating. And then, by the time we were dating, it was like we're like, so when are we having kids? There was no courting period. It was just this is my person. And she was that person that when she came in the room, you would just the temperature of the room would change. You would feel her joy. It like just exploded out of her. I
Mm.
couldn't when I saw her laugh the first time, I was in love with her, and I never got back from it, just still there. And it
Yeah.
just captured me. And I was always trying to like capture it, in photos and videos and all these things. She was just amazing. And when she took her love and when she aimed it at you, there was no other place she wanted to be. It was just she focused that love on you, and it's like that's it. She was just that person, and she was a tremendous mother, and just the best. I go on and on and on.
No, I love it. I want you to go on and on and on because it's so rare when you hear love stories like that. They really touch me because I always said to Rob, it's so I remember this conversation where we laid in bed one night and we said, how many couples do you think we know that have got a relationship that is really beautiful, just like ours. It's so rare that you see that, where you feel that harmony, you feel they are so meant to be together. There's such a unity. How often do you really feel that? And in that moment, I
Yeah.
think we counted two or three other couples that we knew of out of all the
Yeah.
people that we met in our lives, and I thought
Yeah.
that's beautiful to have that and to recognize that in others. And I instantly recognized it in you when you started talking about Raffaella, and I thought, wow, this is so beautiful. I need to have you here. I need to share
Yeah.
this, and you know a little bit about me now. I always put my focus on the beautiful love story and the beautiful
Yeah.
uh, things in life and how do we get through. For me, it's always about the path through it, the positivity, the happiness. But we all know the path through it is not for the
Yeah.
faint-hearted. Be
It
that
took
way.
me, it was hard. I felt very lost right after we lost her because she was home for me. Like I
Mm,
didn't care where I was in the world. I didn't care what I was doing. I didn't care about anything if I
yeah,
was with her.
yeah,
And then now that she's gone, it's like, okay, well, I don't care about any of this stuff.
yeah.
And that's hard. It's like, why am I going to carry on? If it
Mm,
wasn't for my kids, I don't know that I would figure out a way.
yeah.
But I found that I heard that Andrew Garfield quote. I'm sure you've heard it, but he said, um, grief is all the unexpressed love we have for the ones we lost.
Mm,
And I realized the weight that I was feeling, the grief was just love. It just I didn't have anywhere to put it.
yeah,
And so once I began to speak about her and write about her and do all these things, I started to feel different.
yeah. I love
Not
it so much.
not fixed, and I didn't feel fixed,
Yeah,
but
there's
I
not.
can tell you the entire experience changed.
Yeah.
And it's
I,
been different ever
yeah.
since.
I love this so much that you say that, because every time when somebody says that to me, grief is just love that has nowhere to go. For me, there's always like, and here's your answer. Find a way to channel your love.
Exactly.
Find a way where your love can go. And people often stay stuck in this, There's the,
Yeah.
oh, grief is nowhere where love can go. And then they're stuck in this bottom level of, well,
Yeah.
I'm just going to call it in this stuckness. That's all I'm going to say. And for me, there is this passage, and I'm like, so find a way to channel the love. And you've got so much to channel your love to. You've got your beautiful two daughters,
Yeah.
and you've got the book. We'll talk about that in a minute. But before we get there, I will ask you to take us through the passage. How did you find out how fast into your relationship? That must have been so soon into your relationship that you found out that Raphael
Yeah.
had cancer.
So 5 years, well, we were married for 10 years. And our
Yeah,
10-year anniversary was October 11th. She passed 12/12, so 2 months later.
yeah.
So we were married for 5 years. We dated for two before that. And
Mm,
then she was diagnosed in August of 2020. So it was 5 years in, and it was just like setting a bomb off in our lives because everything changed.
yeah,
That diagnosis happened. I was the one to tell her about it, which
yeah.
was terrible.
Yeah,
I'll let
that happened.
people read the book about that, but it was put on me from the doctor to tell
Yeah,
her about that,
yeah,
which was a horrible experience. I would not wish that on anyone to just because she was looking to me for, it was after a surgery. She was looking to me for comfort. And
yeah,
I just had to hand her this bomb, and it was terrible. And then after that, I then soon after was fired from that job. We lost our house. Then I got fired again from another job. Like the story is unbelievable.
it's such
Those
a
five
beautiful story,
years.
though. I know, very raw, but so beautiful. Share a little
And
bit about that.
the thing that we learned in all of this was that a couple things. First of all, God is some like keeps showing up. It's unbelievable. And I always say like the best four words are then God showed up because we have lost all hope.
Yeah,
And it happened so many times. And I'll tell you one story. So there was a blood test Rafi needed and couldn't find it anywhere. We were living in Kansas City in the middle of the US and couldn't find it anywhere. I put up a GoFundMe to raise money for our cancer costs because it was just money just on fire the whole time.
yeah,
And one of my mentors shares it. Well, a man that I sit across from in a Bible study every Tuesday at the time is a doctor. He sends me this long text. He mentions the blood test in this text. I didn't mention the blood test in the GoFundMe. We had just been looking for it for like a year. So the guy that has it is across from me. I know the guy. We go to his office the next day. They say, "Hey, great, we do the blood test." The following day, he sends me an invoice. It's $8,000. I don't, we don't have 8,000. Like we're $8,000 short type of deal, right? So I mentioned that to him, like, hey, okay, whatever. Can we have some time to pay this? And he goes, well, we can give you the friends and family discount for this. And so then it ends up going to $6,300. Like, thank you, but we don't have it. I
Yeah.
mean, literally not have it. I couldn't have sold a car for it. Didn't have it. And and then Rafi is sitting there and we're freaking out because we already did the test. They sent the blood results to Greece. They're coming in a couple weeks. We need the information. We owe the money.
Yeah.
Rafi's phone goes off. One of her best friends texts her, knows nothing about anything, test nothing. Says, "Hey, my church has been talking about your family. We want to give your family this month's tithe from our church. I think it's about $6,300."
I'm having goosebumps all over my body. Like seriously.
I'm telling you, it was literally all of this took place in the matter of it might have been an hour. We were sitting in there. I remember where we were. So all of it gets answered right there. We had nothing to do with any of it. I was just there
Mm,
and it got paid. But there are so many of those over the course of our story that
yeah.
are just they're just unbelievable. There's no explanation,
Yeah.
and
You're
so yeah,
falling
so it just
forward.
yeah, it was incredible. But that's and what we learned was we learned, okay, God is showing up for us, amazing. And then we learned to choose each other.
Mm,
We learned that marriage is not about a ring. It's not about written on paper. It's not about living together. It is about choosing each other every day, regardless of what is pointing at you from the outside. And I was lucky enough to marry a person that chose me, and I chose her into the end. I still choose her, and it's
yeah.
and I think she would choose me, and this I think it'd be the same way.
Yeah.
And that was probably the biggest lesson. It was like, how do we get on the same side of the table and look at this problem together? Because it wasn't about being right or wrong. It was about collaboration. And that was a huge thing that I
Yeah.
learned and she learned and that we employed.
I love, it's really interesting that you choose the exact words because it just brought a story back to me. I'm going to share it very quickly. I was about 17 and my dad said to me, love is basically a choice. It's not that romantic feeling of being in love and butterflies and all
Yeah.
of that. He said, when you love someone, you'll not always and every single day and every single moment of your life be in
Yeah.
love with him or have that romantic feeling, but it is a choice. It is an
Yeah.
act of willpower. Yeah, thought and willpower. It's hard to translate. In German, it sounded very different, but it's basically that's what he said to me. That love is a choice, choosing someone. And
It
here,
is.
I'm sitting with you, like, 30 odd years later, and you using the exact same words. And that to me is such a beautiful way of my dad showing up throughout of this because he passed 3 years after that. So
Yeah.
uh,
It's
that
so true though.
followed
It's
me. And yeah, it followed me also when I met Rob, and I knew that I chose him. I chose him.
yeah.
And now you're telling me that about Raffaella, and it's so beautiful to find people who understand that concept of true love, that you choose someone throughout, no matter what shows up in life, and you
And
look,
it and I'm not saying that like I've been perfect in that regard. Like we have missed a million times.
one is,
We just figured that out along the way. Like there was a ton of struggle there. It's not like you meet the person you're supposed to be with and like life's easy. Like
mm,
there's like yeah, you get married and then you have to climb a mountain together,
yeah,
you know, and our mountain was very steep, but I knew that she was my person. I knew that. So I didn't have to do a pros and cons list of whether I was going to show up for her in that next day.
yeah,
It wasn't like I was weighing it out. I was like, no, we're in all the way. We're going to ride it until it. And if she was here today, I would still be doing the things I was doing.
yeah,
Um, that's just not the path we got.
yeah. Was there a moment in your life when both of you knew that it was terminal, that there was no way back?
Um, I think it's hard. I think so. We didn't discuss it. So she came to terms with, let's say, her mortality probably 3 times over the course of 5 years, maybe four, but
Yeah.
definitely three. We had kind of like what would happen was she would have a tumor surge, and then we would kind of beat it back with some form of treatment, and then tumor surge and beat it back. And that probably happened 3 or 4 times. Towards the end, I would say there was a time in November, probably,
Mhm.
and she passed in December, that I was sure it was over.
Yeah.
But I didn't let on to her that I knew that. I never talked about it, never anything. I was like, I will, I will hold on to hope until the end. And in fact, I held on to hope until after the end, even after her body left the house. Like she's going to show back up. Like she's just going to walk in the room. Like I held on to hope that long because I would rather do that than give up.
Yeah.
It's like there's no chance that I'm giving up on her. There's no chance we fight all this time and I'm just gonna be like, oh, it's over. I'm just not gonna do it. Not for her, not for me, not for our kids, not for anybody. And that's just what we chose. And I don't think I know she didn't ever give up.
Yeah.
It just won the battle. But man, it didn't touch our love.
Mm. How could
Me
it?
too.
If anything, it probably just made it stronger. It's just such a
Yeah.
beautiful and raw story to have to walk through something like that. But what it certainly does, it just makes you so much stronger together. And I know that sounds so cliche, but when you walk a story like that, when you walk a journey like that, it's just there are no words to describe that. Who was the one who shared it with the girls? I assume it was you as well
What do you mean?
when she passed.
They were here.
They were there with her.
We were all in the house. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
It was
Wow.
in this room that I'm sitting in right now.
Wow.
So we made a decision long, long before she passed. It was we were going to walk this road together as a family. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people, didn't like a lot of people didn't like that. And it's like, you know what? I'm not going to hide anything from my kids. It's their mother. They should see this whole thing. Now they didn't see, let's say, like the wound care and the blood and like that stuff, but everything. I mean, they were here the whole time, and it said, "You guys are, welcome to go in and talk to mama and do whatever." Like it's their mom. I'm not gonna.
Cool.
And I now these children, their emotional bandwidth is crazy.
Yeah.
I had a moment when we were in treatment, probably, I don't know, 8 months before she passed, where I was just driving and we were in Scottsdale, Arizona, and she was at treatment. I was with the girls, and all of a sudden, I was like, I'm not afraid to die anymore. I'm not. I don't know why it showed up. I wasn't like pursuing it in my mind. I hadn't been thinking about it. It just showed up.
Mm.
Then after she passed, both of my girls, they're 8 and 10, have on separate occasions been like, I'm okay. I'm not afraid to die. We'll go see mama. I was like, these kids, man, they've come to my aid and supported me. If I'm having an emotional day, I mean, you should watch. If my 8-year-old sees me crying, I mean, it's like she's there. It's incredible. She in fact has gone from having about herself, and then it gets to me, and she'll come to me to my aid. I mean, they're incredible. They're more attached to the experience than we are as adults.
Yeah.
They're more
I,
pure in
I
their
want
in
to
their
talk to you about this. I'm glad that you mentioned that because I heard that in another interview the other day. I can't remember if I was interviewed or interviewing someone, but it was in a conversation where I heard that, I hate that people always say, oh, children are resilient. They're not. They're breaking. They're really feeling that whole intensity of it, but the way they come through it is incredible. And I don't like that whole, oh, children are so resilient. Children have got an amazing bandwidth, as you just said that, but that
well,
whole,
it's an elasticity, right? We
yeah,
are as adults, we're rigid, right? A kid can max out and come back to zero.
yeah,
Adults have a very hard time. I have a very hard time with that as well. But they have an elasticity where it allows them to move back. They experience things, and I think they hit the highs and they hit the lows very quickly.
yeah,
Whereas we as adults have breaks, and we're like, oh no, I can. I can numb myself out and not feel this thing. Kids just get there,
Yeah.
and that's the hard part about being an adult. It's like, no, I want to rein them in. Like,
Yeah.
no, let them go. Let them,
Let them feel
because
it. Yeah.
let them feel it. Like, it's okay. And lots of times I'll tell you is they come to my rescue
Mm.
because we went through it together, right? I've not been through it. They've not been through it. So I was like, well, who am I to shield them just
Yeah.
because I'm older than them?
Yeah. I
And,
want to
and,
say
and really,
I love that you had them there with you, that you went through a journey together, that you had them in a room. As I said, our journey was so different to yours because it was so sudden. But I took the boys with me when we flew to Perth. Rob died on the other side of Australia. We had to fly across to identify his body, and I took the boys with me. I
yeah,
told them what's going to happen. I gave them the option to come with me to the mortuary, and they both wanted to see him. And I knew in my heart that they needed to see him. They needed the closure
yeah,
because
yeah,
even on the way there, my older son said to me, when I explained to them what that it actually means, they're identifying someone's body, like, where do you learn that? It's brutal, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So I
yeah.
explained it to them on the plane, and my older son said to me, maybe they've got the wrong person, you
Could
know?
be. Yeah,
And I said, that's why we're flying there. I know in my heart that it was that, because don't you think he would have called us by now? Do you know what I mean? So there was this soft sort of trying
for
to
sure.
prepare them. But when they came, what we felt in that mortuary, I cannot explain this in words, but there was so much love, connection, closure, and it was so freaking raw as well, you know. But what we
Yeah.
had in that room, I am so grateful that they came with me. And I can only imagine that it would have been even more so intense for you guys because you had this whole journey that came with it and then never knowing when it's going to happen. And there's
You
a
know, there was about 3 days where she was non-responsive before she passed. And when I when I thought it was about time,
yeah,
it was clearly, I think, the last day. I brought them in and I said, hey, Mama, I think Mama's gonna go be with Jesus today. If you want to go talk to her, go ahead. And they went phew, immediately. They didn't resist one, like nothing. And then um and then after she passed, I pulled them aside and I pulled them into their room, which is right across the hall. And I said, no one should ever have to tell you this, but Mama's not here anymore. And you can, you're welcome to go in there. You don't have to, whatever. It's not, I'm not making you do anything. Bam, they were right there immediately. There was no resistance. They were in there. They were, kissing her and saying goodbye. And it was like, my youngest was like, Papa, it's not your fault. You didn't do it. It was like, this kid is sitting here, like, you know, helping me. Like, what? It was just, they're just so ready and they're just so willing. And to
but it's
think that
also
we can
kudos to
stand in
you,
the way of that.
I may say so, Danny. It's kudos to you, the way you have walked that path with them. You know, you were so strong. You
Yeah.
were there for all three of your girls to walk that journey with them and to be there
Yeah.
till the very end, you know. And I think this is the most beautiful way to portray, you know, what love is.
Yeah.
You're there till the
Yeah.
very end and you walk that path with your girls. And
Yeah.
you're there for them now. And if I may share, when we had our little pre-chat, my heart just melted because at that stage I didn't even know you had girls. But the first thing I said to you is, "You're dad to two girls, aren't you?" And you said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And you had your
Yeah.
fingernails painted. I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, I
They're not
love
today,
this."
but yes, yes. Yeah.
It was so cool. And I thought, you
Or I
know,
think they have a clear layer on them today. That's not no color.
but I loved it. I was sitting on the couch with my 15-year-old last night and I said, I'm interviewing this really cool dad tomorrow, you know, and I told him about the fingernail and everything. He's like, oh, I'm really excited for you, Mom. He was so happy to hear it. And here we are having this conversation. I do want to talk about your book. Thank You,
Sure.
Cancer. You wrote
Yeah.
that. You co-wrote that. There was a whole plan to that. Share us how. Thank you. Share with us how the idea came up, how it all started, and
Yeah.
how on earth
So
you get it finished and out.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So in 2021, we made the choice very early on that we were going to talk about what we were going through
Mm,
on social media, which
mm,
which some people thought was great, some people hated it, whatever. We didn't care. It was just like we're just going to tell people what's going on. So we were doing that, and we enjoyed telling people because it's hard when you're going through something like that because everyone wants to know what's going on. And you're
Mm.
not going to text everyone. It's just impossible. And
Mm.
so we would just put things out there. And we decided we're like, we want to write a book. And we were talking about doing a podcast and all these things. And so the book thing was just always there. We just never got to it. But what we did do was she wrote like journal entries the entire time.
Mm.
In the moment, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. This is how I feel. This is the pain, all these things.
Yeah.
I was also writing my experience separately. So she was doing hers, I was doing mine. And then we just never got to the book. And she passes away. And then logistically, in the last 4 to 6 months of her life, the logistics, it was basically 24/7 care. And it was me. There was nobody helping really. And so when she was gone, I have this giant amount of free time in my life, which was terrifying.
Yeah.
Once my kids went to school, it was just me sitting there in silence, and it
Yeah.
was brutal. But I knew something of myself that writing would help me to like process things and get the storm that was on the inside outside. So I just started writing every day. And in that time, I remembered that we wanted to write a book. So what I did was I looked through all of her journal entries and I dropped the majority of them in a timeline. And the
Mm.
timeline was 5 years. And then, so I have a very sparsely told story, you'd imagine, right? Because it's very focused in the times that it is. So I
Mm.
went back through my writings and dropped complementary ones in the timeline. So you have a more full story, but it's from two points of view. So
Yeah.
her voice is different than my voice. She thinks differently than I do. So
Mm.
it's very different, but it's telling the same story. And then I went back through as a narrator and I added like if it's like a patchwork quilt, I added a patch here, I added some context here, I weaved this together, and I kind of brought it all into one story. So what you have effectively is if you and I and her were sitting around a campfire and we were telling you about our lives, that's what you have. You have an informal conversation. And I don't say he said, she said, he replied,
Yeah.
she replied. It just flows. So my text is in normal print or whatever, and then hers is in bold.
Mhm.
And then there were all these times, like the $6,300 thing, where we started calling them Jesus moments. So
Mm.
those are there's a darkened background behind them. And then at the end of those, my pastor gave me a verse from the Bible that fits what happened basically. Like, here's what the Bible says, and this is proof of your story. So you
Mm.
have one story told in three voices: Rafi's voice, my voice, and God's voice.
Yeah.
Just lays out this story. And I would tell you, there's I would not believe it if I didn't live it. And
Mm.
I've told very close friends stories that are in that book, and they were like, "Man, if I didn't know you, I would not believe this story."
Yeah.
And the $6,300 thing is nothing compared to some of the other stories in there. I mean, they're incredible. And it is with who she was in this world and and then the story. I was like, there's no way this story doesn't get told. There's no way she passes away and I just don't talk about her. Like, there's no way. And
Let's
so it
about
was,
the title.
it seemed quickly that it came to be,
Yeah.
but I most of it was written by the time I,
Mm.
got to it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's beautiful.
Tell us about the title and the cover.
Okay, so the title is Thank You, that's a comma, Cancer. And there's a very good reason for that title. I'm not going to tell you the reason. You have to read the book.
Yeah.
I realize it's
Good
polarizing.
one. You're good.
But the cover, that's our wedding day.
Mm.
So that's me with much shorter hair, and that's Raph. And we got married on a farm in Kansas, the middle of the U.S. And
Mhm.
it was beautiful. Her spirit was just wild. I mean, she's this wild spirit, like a gypsy, like just a wild horse, like was her spirit. And it was just she's just amazing. And yeah, so I've had people that have read the book that have told me they feel like she's in the room with them while they're reading it. I've had people tell me that they're driving down the street and they feel like she's talking to them while they're driving, like not reading the book. They're just like she's making friends now after she's gone. It's the wildest thing. It's just amazing. it's such a crazy gift,
And it's
you
so
know.
beautiful as well because you taking the journal entries, it makes it so freaking personal, and that is
Well, and
exactly
there's not, I
what.
didn't edit them.
Yeah.
So there's spelling errors, there's grammatical errors, there's capitalization errors. I just left them. Now mine I corrected, but hers, nothing.
I love that.
Yeah,
I can't thank you enough for coming online with me and
such a
sharing
pleasure.
your story, Rafi's story, and your beautiful girls. Absolute amazing. And I love the beautiful, you know, closeness that you have that has been growing closer and closer over the years. And when you walk through a story like that, it really draws you in even closer than you can imagine. So, for
Yeah,
anyone listening here, I want to say two things. Firstly, we will be dropping the link to the book in the show notes as soon as we finished here because right now we are live, so I can't edit show notes in. But as soon
yep,
as, if you're watching this right now and there are no show notes, come back in half an hour and it will all be in there. So we will be sharing the link to that. And the other thing I'm going to ask you is if there's somebody going through this journey right now and they don't know where up and down is and how to get through that, is there any piece of hope that you can share with them other than read my book? Because I'm absolutely certain there will be a lot of that in there, and I will very much encourage anyone. But is there anything that you would like our to leave our audience with?
well, first of all, you're not alone.
Mm,
And that's a big, big thing because you feel very alone. I know that.
mm,
And one thing that was really profound for me was what is something, so when you lose someone, what is something your person loved about you?
mm,
So I'll use myself as an example.
mhm,
Rafi loved my tender heart.
mhm.
So for me, say, okay, how do you bring out that piece of you in your daily life?
Yeah.
So because if she was here, I would want to be the best version of myself for
Mm,
her. Well,
yeah.
I still need to be the best version of me for my kids, for me, but I don't want to be because she's not here. But to honor her and to honor yourself
Yeah.
in your days, because there's no direction, you feel completely lost. And it's like,
Mm,
okay, so what did she love about you? What did they love about you? Well, they loved this. Okay, well, bring that out into your life.
mm.
And for me, that's also joy. Like, how do you be joyful?
Love it.
Well, I laugh with my kids. I do stupid stuff for my girls
Yeah.
because she would love that.
Yeah.
And what I find is that just that little thing, like here's a stupid example. We have a spider that's on a huge web outside our house for
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's not scary. Every morning I pull out of the garage and I scream, and the girls think it's funny. And it's the
Yeah.
dumbest thing. It's every day, but it's that little bit. There's joy, right? And
Love it.
that's what they would want for us.
Mm,
That's what I'd want for her if I was the one that left.
mm.
So connecting those things are so helpful.
Mm. And that's such a key sentence, what you just said, the things that she would have wanted me to do or I would have wanted
Yeah,
her. It's always that role reversal, what would the other person want to do or
yeah,
see? And I know I said, let's wrap this up here, but I do want to bring one thing in that you and I just chatted about before we came
yeah,
live, because I think it's such a beautiful way to add to what you just said, when you quoted the grief is love that has got nowhere to go. And I said, yeah, and that's where a lot of people get stuck in this,
yeah,
the love got nowhere to go. But what you just said
yeah,
highlighted what I said before we came live. It's
yeah,
so find a way for your love to go somewhere. Channel your love
yeah,
into somewhere where it can bloom and blossom and do something for other people. If that's your own two girls like you do,
yeah,
if that's her friends, your family, if that's anyone in the world that you don't even know, find a way to channel that love because that's what keeps them alive. And I love that so much. I
yeah,
don't want that quote to end. Grief is love with nowhere to go. So find a way to channel it. I really wanted to share that because
yeah,
we chatted about this just before we came live. So it was just such a perfect finish to what you just said. And Danny, I just love how you're handling this. You're an incredible dad, if I may say so. Absolutely incredible dad from where I'm sitting. I see so much love, so much fun in your family, and I can only imagine the biggest smile from Raffaella beaming down on you every single day. And I know it's not always sunshine and butterflies,
yeah.
but
I'd
I,
say I also I feel I was talking with someone yesterday, and sorry, my dog is
that's all right.
upset. But that. yesterday I was on my couch crying,
Mm.
paralyzed, couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that's every day. And the thing that I've learned is that you can let the grief have its way with you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
There's no expectations. You don't have to finish it. Just let it move through you and then reach for the thing you've committed yourself to.
Yeah.
For me, that's the joy. Reach for it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I couldn't have asked for a more perfect ending. Thank you so much for everything
This
that
is
you
great.
for
Such
being.
an honor.
And please, please hug your girls for me.
I will.
Everybody who wants to read a book, please, please, please come back, go into show notes, buy the book, read it. And this is your way of supporting a beautiful family, but also in allowing a lot of joy and love into your life. So it's a win-win. Get the book.
Well, if you're international, it's on Amazon.
Perfect. We'll be
So
sharing.
if you're in the US,
Yeah,
link. But if you're not, it's on Amazon.
I'll show you a trick how to do that just when we hang up. Sending you all so much love. This is Danny and Marie signing off. Thank you so much for watching.
Amazing.
Love it.
Thank you.
Subscribe button and the notification bell. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.